Welcome to this new episode of A Talk To. Today we will talk about international health insurance policy. We will try to understand how it works, what its features are, and who this policy might be convenient to. But first of all, let me introduce my guest for today, Sean Animobono, who is health insurance specialist at Peak Insurance Brokers. Thank you, Sean, for being with us today.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So, Sean, let's start with the first question. To whom would you recommend an international health insurance policy?
Well, I would barely recommend it to everyone. Everyone who is traveling, of course, this is more suitable. Everyone who is deciding to have a trip around the world, a classic international nomad, or anyone who is deciding to study abroad or to have a new experience outside of their country. These products are products that would provide you with the support you need in case of necessity. So my strong advice is, if possible, to get insurance as soon as possible.
But what about non-travelers?
Well, yes. Let's say that there's a market for non-travelers as well. As said, in today's world, the insurance market is developing a lot and very fast. Okay, we have different situations and different scenarios in each country, where a lot of countries are maybe treated with free health insurance. We could look at Italy, for example, but we could look at other countries who support and have free healthcare, and that's a great advantage. But it's an advantage that has been given for a long time, and we don't know for how long we will have that. Having the possibility to purchase a health insurance, especially an international plan, will provide the client with an option to go wherever he wants at any cost he would like to have. So this will support him greatly and provide him with the best cover he can have or wants wherever he wants.
And so, talking about the covers that this policy provides, what are specifically and how long does it last?
Well, the minimum requirement will be 1 year. These are yearly contracts and they renew on a yearly basis. And they do not have a limit, so the client can be insured up to 100, 110 years of age if he wants to. We also can provide portability of the product when a client decides to move from a country to another one.
Okay, so you mentioned portability, and what does it mean when we talk about healthcare or health insurance?
Yes, well, portability of the product is, if we take, for example, a client who decided to move to Dubai, where there's a local compliance regulations, we would offer a kind of product that would locally comply with what the authority demands. And if the client, 1 year later or 18 months later, decides to move, let's say, to Switzerland, which is another regulatory commitment, we can then allow the portability of the product. So move that client from Dubai on the Swiss plan without no need to refill a medical questionnaire or apply for new medical examinations or anything. So there's a free transfer, basically.
Okay, so we can say that it is easier, choosing an international health policy.
Absolutely, yes. Some kind of products will allow this, no problem.
And why is this type of policy particularly popular?
Well, this kind of policy is particularly popular, let's say, because the clients are starting to move around, okay? It's not like it used to be. These days, a lot of people travel for work. These days, a lot of people travel for new opportunity, travel just to take a change. Life is changing, okay? And people like to make a change. So a lot of people will go to Madrid, a lot of people will go to London, Singapore, China, all over the place. And this particular product provides you not only the possibility to have, let's say, cover wherever you're going, but allows you with the possibility to do not have to attend to your wallet if you need medical necessity. So if you need a hospitalization, if you need, let's say, surgery, this insurance will cover all of these costs. And in the need or case of severe treatments, in most case scenarios, it will have the possibility of repatriation. So they will give you the opportunity to either come back to the country where your passport's from or where you reside to receive the treatment you need. So this is very important, and not all the insurance would offer you this kind of treatment.
And why use an insurance broker? Does it entail an additional costs?
Well, first of all, let's remove this idea that the broker or the agent or the agency will cost the client something. Okay, the cost of any insurance plan is totally free for the client. Okay, whatever broker he chooses, agent or agency, the cost is of a policy you purchase online is the exact same cost of a policy you purchase from a broker. In some case scenarios, the broker will actually have even more power on the price. So it'd be able to work with you on a renewal basis and discuss if there is a possible increase, how we can work with that. At the same time, the broker will always take the client side. So my advice to any client is whatever you do, and not just in insurance, but even, I don't know, in purchasing a home or anything, always try to put yourself in the hands of someone who's an expert. In this case, particular case, an insurance broker, agent, or an agency.
So, Sean, what is the situation of a citizen, for example, a European citizen, abroad regarding the medical care?
Well, a lot of the European countries are very lucky because we have a healthcare system in most of our countries. But if we take, for example, the UK, okay, with the Brexit. So if we have, let's say, a French citizen who goes to London and requires medical treatment, well, London isn't part of the isn't part of the European entity anymore. So in that case, he will be forced to pay for any medical necessity he requires. And the costs are pretty high. You should be looking at a minimum of €1,500 per night for any kind of hospitalization, up to a private clinic, which could go well over €7,500. If we take the exact same situation for a member that is going to the United States, well, the price is almost double, if not more. Okay, so health insurance is especially a requirement when you move outside of Europe, okay? And I would always make it mandatory for anyone who decides to move outside Europe. But especially if you're looking to travel into areas where it isn't part of Europe, well then absolutely make sure you cover yourself before you go.
And so what advice would you give to someone about choosing an international health insurance policy?
My strong advice, first of all, is make sure you cover yourself for anything that are the real severe consequences. So a classic core plan, for example, is a plan that will help the client for emergency department, any planned treatment, or any kind of hospitalization. And this is just the basic cover. To this, we can then attach all the rest of insurance. We can attach outpatient, so in case the client wants a refund for anything that is related to a specialist visit or a doctor or health checkups. We can add anything that is related to dentistry, and we can also have repatriation and maternity. But, you know, in a good world, I would always recommend at least a basic cover. So anything that's really important is always there.
And what about those who already have an insurance policy? What should they do?
Well, there's a lot of different players to the market, okay? Some are local, some are international. My strong advice would be to maybe, first of all, put yourself in good hands. So choose a good agent, choose a broker, not any kind of broker, okay? Choose someone that will look after you and look after you well, and will provide you with all the information you need. A lot of us today have different plans, especially local plans, and we do not know what we have. A lot of us today are insured by our companies, but we still don't know the plans we have. You can ask around any friend, you can ask members of the family, and not anyone will be able to tell you, oh yes, I'm insured for this, I'm insured for that. They'll be able to say, oh yes, we're insured with work, but we really don't know what it covers, but we have it. You know, a lot of these people have been paying premiums for the past 20, 30 years on local plans, and they do not know that if something severe happens, those plans will not get renewed. And the biggest issue we have here is that these are plans that can be cancelled due to sinistrosity. And this means that if a client unfortunately has cancer or a tumour or something really bad, the next year he becomes an uninsurable subject. So the current insurance will leave him and will not renew him, but he will not be able to be insured by anyone else at that stage. So that's already too late. So this is my biggest fear for any client.
And what would you recommend to those who want to change, for example, from a classic, let's say, insurance policy to an international kind of policy?
Well, I'll be straight honest, okay? We're looking at moving from products that will cost you basically 200, 300, 400 euro to products that will cost you basically a minimum of 1,200 up to 3,000, 4,000. And this can even go higher based on the age of the client, okay? But if you're the kind of client that is doing good in life, is not having problems, and at the end of the year having that kind of amount of money in your bank account or not have it doesn't make any difference, my strong advice is insure yourself as soon as possible. Just make sure that you're covered for what really is necessary.
And what happens when someone wants, let's say, to make a comparison, an objective comparison between a classic, let's say, insurance policy and an international kind of policy? How is it possible to compare these covers when there are, let's say, cross-referencing costs or some dozens of clauses? How can they compare let's say, the two options?
Well, that's what we're here for. So if they can talk to us, they can talk to me anytime they want. But, there's a lot of clause. And sure, insurance were not born yesterday. They do this kind of job to make sure that, they can make a profit. Insurance business should be looked at a business because it is a business. Nobody gives away anything for free here. But it's important to know what you're paying for. And for sure, when you have to have comparison, it's important that you talk to your agent, you talk to your broker, you make sure you know everything, okay? It's important steps. This is it's your future. If something happens, you want to make sure that you're secure, that you're going to fall while standing on your feet. So this is the biggest, strongest advice I would give. Make sure you read what you buy and you ask the right questions.
And so, last question. If a citizen takes out an international health policy, what advantages does he or she have and in local facilities in his or her country?
Well, the good thing about most international health insurance is the client has freedom of choice. The client can go wherever he wants. He's not tied to a network, okay? Circumstances would be that if maybe the private network is asking for too much for a treatment, their insurance will bring to the table another 3-4 players and tell you, okay, we will pay for this treatment in these other 3-4 facilities that we think are very high standards. Okay, this is not something your local plan would do. And local plans, in most case scenarios, you're tied to a network, and part of the cost of whatever is the treatment, it's up on the client. In international insurance, if you want to pay something, you can ask for a deductible, or the rest is all full paid by the insurance to the clinic each time. So it's always direct settlement. The client never anticipates anything unless he chooses to do so.
So, Sean, thank you very much for this overview, and thank you for being our guest today.
I thank you all. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I thank WeWealth for hosting this, and I hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you all for watching. Remember to keep us following on our website and social media channels.